Hello everybody. Welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing great. Hope you're all fantastic and that you're all having a wonderful morning, afternoon, and or evening, depending on when you're watching this video. Don't forget, sorry, I'm stretching if I sound crazy. Oh yeah, but a bit better. Don't forget to follow me on TikTok. There's a link in the description below. And without any further ado, let's jump right into it. A bit of a weird mixed bag kind of news day. Nothing bad by any means, but it's kind of one of those like weird, erratic days. No matter what we do, no matter where we go, no matter what is happening within the cryptocurrency space, the discussion continuously, especially in April, is revolving directly around Bitcoin and Bitcoin's price. We are in the weirdest bull run, bull market, bull cycle that we have ever had. There are a number of factors for that. However, the discussions once again are always kind of the same, and it's where Bitcoin's price is going to go. We have a lot of analysts who are kind of adamant, as we've gone over, that the next 3 months are going to be incredible for the cryptocurrency market. If you've missed any of the other videos, we also, in April and in May, and probably some in June, but April and May, we have a lot of ETF proposals also coming due. On top of that, people are looking at the charts because, if we can be honest with ourselves here, Bitcoin should be well over $250,000 per coin just based off of supply and demand. With all the good news that we've been getting, a lot of people, you can even see the sentiment online as well. If we have a day or a week of prices pumping, there's still this timidity. Everyone doesn't know if this is actually the moment when things are going to actually continue. So this is why I think we keep hearing from all the analysts about what their charts are showing, because we all know that Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, Cardano, you name it across the board, should all be much higher in price. I mean, you can't have countries buying up Bitcoin and then the price just stagnates. It's all very, very odd. You've been here, you've been in the market, you know exactly what I'm talking about. This was very major news. You'll see exactly why. Apparently, Bitcoin is still in its bull market. This is according to the CEO of ARK Invest. US spot Bitcoin ETF saw a 3-day inflow streak. It says, but can it boost Bitcoin's recovery? People are still focusing very heavily as if it's the only thing that matters. And this is what I think is also, whatever. We'll just talk honestly. This is what I think is causing a lot of harm within the cryptocurrency space, but it does this every single cycle. This isn't something brand new. This isn't something that we haven't had before. We had the same exact thing with ICOs. If you don't remember, ICOs, as we recently went over, were a way of gathering funds to fund blockchain creations and expeditions and yada yada. The issue is that at some point we had less money going into ICOs, and people began to report that it was something highly negative for crypto because we didn't have money flowing explicitly into that one thing over and over and over. We had a thing as well. What was the other thing? Oh gosh, I don't remember. Every single time now what we have is the ETFs. Oh, it was futures. So we had this thing in 2018, 2019. If the futures for Bitcoin futures didn't have a lot of money flowing into it, people thought that something was wrong with Bitcoin and people began to sell off their Bitcoin. This isn't a joke. This really happened over and over and over. If we heard that on a Friday, there was one of the ETFs was going to expire, and let's say Bitcoin's price on the futures showed Bitcoin at $8,000 and Bitcoin was currently at 11,500, people would sell off their Bitcoin. And then for it to get to where the futures said that it had to be. And it was this constant narrative. It's such a stupid market. It's so dumb. I try and sit here sometimes. It doesn't make any sense in any way, shape, or form. It just completely doesn't. It's one of the oddest things in the entire world. And the only reason why it's allowed to even act this way is because so many people aren't in the market, don't know about the market, and people within the market also aren't buying or aren't paying attention to it. When you have such little liquidity like we have, because if you've been missing any of it, Bitcoin is being taken off of exchanges en masse. Like, it's continuing to happen. There was another news story like 2 days ago where all the Bitcoin, I mean, really, like, it's being dragged off of exchanges by its legs as quickly as humanly possible. The amount of Ether on crypto exchanges is as low as it was in the year 2015. So while all of this happens and prices like will go up but don't surge, it just basically allows people, rich people, to buy up more coins from the market. The more that they own, the more that they can control the market and keep prices low. The more that they can keep prices low, the more that they can kick more people out of the market so that they can continue to buy more. It's just this really weird loop that keeps happening over and over, and it's just like excessively exhausting. After sneezing, it won't come out. Oh boy, please go away. The other part right now has to do with the ETFs. So if we keep hearing over and over and over, can it boost Bitcoin's recovery? It's not about the ETFs. The ETFs aren't the only thing that we have to look at when it comes to actual things within the market. When it comes to like how scarce Bitcoin actually is, how little that there actually is left for 8 billion people on the planet. It's the constant same narrative over and over and over and over. And I can only assume by 2029 we'll have another 3-letter thing that's also, you know, controlling the market in some sort of way. But this current one has to do with ETFs. So I've told you before and I've shown you before, even on days or weeks where we have news that, so I'll give it to you this way. If the only news for ETFs is that there are only inflows, our price will go up because people think that that's something incredibly bullish for the market. How amazing, how awesome. If we have 3 days, 5 days, 7 days where there were any outflows, it creates negative news for the space, and that's the news that ends up getting shared online. So remember, I showed you before, on any given day, even if the market is lower or there's not that much interest, if we have $28 million worth of inflows for that day, but there's $4 million worth of outflows by the end of the day, the outflows is what makes the news, not that there's an additional $24 million within the market. So we keep hearing over, and I look at the actual numbers. Do you remember, this was maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, for those of you who weren't here for that video, there was an article that we were going over, and it was the only one that I've seen. The only one after the last 2 years. The article was talking about like this the word's not hype, this overly whatever fear of the cryptocurrency market surrounding outflows for the ETFs. Do you know, out of all the outflow news that we've had for Bitcoin ETFs, think of this. Since January 2024, what was that, 14, 15 months? All the outflow news that we had, 95% of the money in Bitcoin ETFs is still there. It was around 4% of the money at any given point is moving in and out. Do you understand that? All the terrible, scary, horrible, awful, oh my gosh, I can't believe it news is revolving around 4% of the money leaving on any given day, but then also the other money is also continuously being accumulated. 95% of it hasn't left. It's kind of like this was also, oh gosh, this last year, there was news about Ethereum, not outflows. I forgot what the word was. Something happened to Ethereum. Somebody was moving money around, and I think it was like $7 million worth of Ether. And that caused the price to go down that day because that was one of like the main news stories. Like Ether had this movement, something happened, it was our people sending that Ether to crypto exchanges to sell it off. And I was like, what the hell are you talking about? Ethereum has a multi-billion-dollar blockchain. Like there's a $7 million sell-off does nothing. At any given point, there's $20 million moving in and out of it every couple of minutes. But the news story for that week was that someone moved a lot of Ethereum, therefore something must have been wrong. Remember when we had all the news that Vitalik Buterin, people kept on sending him people continue to send him meme coins. So he essentially gets all this free money. He said it before, I don't want these coins. Why are you sending me all these things? So he sells them. He swaps them on chain into Ether. And then he sells that Ether to he donates it to different places and different events and things that are happening around the world. At one point, I think he donated like $30 million worth of Ether, and people were like, you can't do that. The price is going to go down. And it's like, you don't understand that when you have a $300 billion market, if you sell $1 billion, it's not going to move the price 1%. It's the same. It happens over and over and over. Every time we get ETF outflow news, that's not Bitcoin. That's not the Bitcoin market. This isn't in kind. It doesn't make any sense that we have this kind of news constantly flowing every single day in the space. That people writing these articles are that dumb that they just don't know how money or liquidity actually works. We've had days before. There was something recently about Mt. Gox. This was maybe 5 or 6 days ago. There was something with Mt. Gox about paying the people back who are owed their money. Bitcoin has a $1.5 trillion market cap. The news that day was that the creditor, the guy who's in control of all the Mt. Gox money, I think he moved around $500 million worth of Bitcoin. And people were like, will the price fall? The price might fall today because it's half a billion. $500 million is not a billion, is not 10 billion, is not 100 billion, is not a trillion, is not 1.5 trillion. There's so much fear mongering and dumbness constantly floating in the air for this space. And we've heard it for every single coin. You know that there are articles every first of the month. Can you guess about what? Think about it. Every first of the month, what would that be about? About XRP. There are multiple articles from multiple news agencies every first of the month that these coins have left escrow. Is Ripple about to sell these coins? Will these coins be dumped onto the market? The company has told us multiple times. You can even see in their transparency reports where these coins go. We know they're being sold to institutions. They're being sold to banks and to governments. At what point do we stop this nonsense of trying to get everyone so afraid every single cycle, every single day? We have nothing but good news all the time. All the bad news, if I can categorize it as bad news, is just always trying to get people to be afraid. The futures went down. You have to be afraid. The ICOs aren't getting enough money. You have to be afraid. Someone's going to fork Bitcoin. You have to be afraid. The ETFs don't have $1 billion moving into them today. That was also fearful news. We had at some point, I think $1 billion had flown into the Bitcoin ETFs. And I think a week or two later, that number was 128 million. And the news stories that were floating around were like, is this bearish for Bitcoin? It's not the same as last week. I don't know. Maybe the institutional. And I'm like, shut up. Shut up. I'm so tired of stupid people. I'm so tired of stupid people everywhere. It's so miraculous that these people continue to exist and have money at all. I really don't get it. I sincerely don't understand. And I know it's difficult to ignore that kind of news because news is meant to make you terrified. It's meant to make you scared. It's meant to make you panic. It's the only way that they get attention or retention in some sort of way. If you hear the news on this channel every single day, we're still in the bull run, accumulation still happening, this is the so-and-so, the blah, blah, blah is happening, this country's buying up. How many times have we heard in the last couple of days, this country's buying, this bank is buying, this university's buying, this institution is buying, GameStop is buying, MicroStrategy just bought more, MetaPlanet just bought more. But then you scroll on Twitter and all the news that you really pay attention to, the outflows aren't as strong. Bitcoin can't go above $100,000. Ethereum's doing this. Is the chain broken? Is this going to happen? Is the cycle done? And it fuels you because you don't know what to like pay attention to. If you keep hearing all this news, that's what I keep saying. If you pay attention to all the actual news that makes sense. The United States of America is buying Bitcoin. Other countries are buying Bitcoin. They're mining Bitcoin. We're constantly hearing every single day that there are multiple companies who are mining Bitcoin, making cryptocurrency regulation. All these banks are getting into it. How many banks have we heard just this year alone own over $100 million worth of Bitcoin? At what point do you stop being afraid? At what point do you stop listening to the nonsense? It's like years ago when we had all those other, oh my gosh, I used to want to scream every single video. Those other crypto YouTubers writing on chalkboards next to a Lambo to get you to pay attention. It was the same every single damn day. These people were constantly sitting there writing on chalkboards. Well, you know, because my friend was like, he said the number 22, so we're going to put a 22x next to this, and this coin's going to go exponential. And they were talking about nonsense. They were talking about BitConnect, and I was like, why is anyone listening to them? You know how much flack I got for not promoting BitConnect? It was every day. I had people messaging me and commenting me every single day how stupid I was because I wasn't getting into BitConnect. And I was like, BitConnect isn't Bitcoin. You're doing your listeners a huge disservice. They could be making big money. And I looked into it. I was like, what is this thing? And I said in the video, I was like, this is clearly a scam. You know how many downvotes I got on that video? How many people were like, you have no idea what you're talking about? You see that they're buying Bitcoin. You see all the news about XRP and Ripple. You see that the wallet associated with Donald Trump has purchased hundreds of millions of dollars worth of Ether. And people still look elsewhere. I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense. It literally doesn't make any sense. But it's kind of like, no, I know exactly what it's like. When I told people years ago, this is before crypto, when I was thinking about, I was more into mutual funds and I was getting into stocks, like individual stocks. And I remember telling people about it and I'll never forget, somebody told me, he said, why isn't everyone else into this? And I said, what? He thought I was trying to like scam him in some sort of way by telling him about stocks because none of his friends were into stocks. So he couldn't conceptualize why I was telling him. And then I finally got other people to get into the market, to get into stocks, to begin accumulating. And I was adamant. I was telling my friends, I was like, if you're getting into this, get in everything blue chip. J&J, AAPL, the really big names. They were buying penny stocks because everything I told them didn't make sense. Buying something that already had a large valuation or where each stock was worth $14, $15 didn't work out for them. Because they wanted something that started at a penny that would go up to that $15 so that they could become... It's always the same. It's like loops of stupidity. All the time, I don't get it. I sincerely don't understand. Oh my gosh, my blood pressure is so high every single day in this market. It's just like constant stupidity. Despite recent Bitcoin losses and bear market calls, Cathie Wood was positive about the cryptocurrency's outlook. In a Bloomberg interview, Cathie Wood reiterated that the market was still in a bull market. Nothing has really changed. We've just had bad movement, and it's basically been because of tariffs. If you want to sit there and lie to yourself and say that it's something else, there's no real, I can't help you. I'm not even half joking. I had conversations with people online, especially on Twitter, and people like to think it's the formation of the stars or it's the gravitational force of water or something else going on. No, it's the tariffs that's ruining everything right now. If we keep getting news about tariffs, prices are going to go down. We know that the markets all markets, especially the stock market right now, is being manipulated on purpose so that rich people can buy in at a cheaper amount. We went over that before. If you missed that video, all these analysts and all these like rich people basically came forward and they're saying that, yeah, you know, rich people kind of have this like, the only word I can find in my head is yearning. yearning for 2008, 2009 again when prices were a lot lower. So if you can destroy markets and then buy up those companies, it's kind of the same exact thing like I told you all before as well when it came to FTX. And everybody was like, blah, 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 Sam Bankman-Fried, evil. I was like, didn't you think it was really weird? For those of you who missed all that news and for those of you who were here, you must remember. There was a period a couple of years ago before the collapse of FTX. We were getting a lot of acquisition news. This company was going to be purchased for $4 billion. This company was going to be purchased for $199 million. This company, blah, 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 all these huge valuations. Out of nowhere, Sam Bankman-Fried and FTX are the worst things in the entire world. You were told to be afraid and be scared because everything else was going to collapse because of Sam Bankman-Fried. Remember, there were news stories, you can Google this, about him eating peanut butter. I'm not joking, Google it. About him eating peanut butter sandwiches behind bars and how he was conspiring to lower the cryptocurrency market. He wasn't working with this person or telling people what they needed to know because he knew the market was going to drop. And I was like, he's not a god. He's not a demon. He's not even that intelligent. He just made a cryptocurrency exchange and scammed people. But everyone else was told to be afraid. On top of that, after everything began to collapse after FTX, all these same companies that were tied to FTX and any of their partners that had a $4 billion valuation, $199 million valuation. Do you remember what happened after? Those companies were sold. The company for $4 billion was sold for $30 million. The company that had a $199 million valuation was sold for $1 million. And I was like, that happened on purpose. It's the same. So apparently, and I mean, if you don't realize this, go back to school. The markets are trying to be dropped on purpose so that people can buy up assets at a lower price. It's happening across all markets. You might have even seen it before. There was news towards the end of last year about, it happened, but it didn't happen. There was news about a major sell-off in real estate within the United States and within Canada, that all these companies were getting ready to sell off property and the housing prices were going to collapse and yada, yada, yada. Guess what? They didn't. And you know what actually ended up happening? These corporate landlords bought up more property. That's them releasing news that everyone should be afraid that property prices were going to go lower. People got afraid and sold some of their property. And then it was swiftly bought up once again. So every single analyst right now continuously says that we are still in a bull market. She said Bitcoin is a little bit halfway through the 4-year cycle. We think we're still in a bull market and US deregulation is important for institutions moving into this new asset class. And that's what the SEC has basically been doing. She maintained her $1.5 million price target for Bitcoin by 2030. I think she was one of the first people to say that. And I mean, if we manage to get there in the next 4.5 years, I'll do a literal golf clap. Just because the way that they're manipulating this market right now, I'm not really sure how we can obtain amazing things over the sure. Bitwise's CIO, his name is Matt Haugen, also echoed Wood's bullish statement, stating that if the current macro uncertainty was lifted, there's a lot of macro uncertainty if you're watching the news, that Bitcoin could only go to $200,000 by the end of the year. That's what happens when you keep beating the market down. People think, well, okay, we're going to go up, but how high can we actually go up? So he thinks only $200,000 this year. The bullish projections were aligned with the MVRVZ score, a common valuation model and cycle top indicator. I'll show it to you, and it's actually the chart that nearly all of my investor friends actually use, especially when it comes to Bitcoin in the cryptocurrency market. It was at 1.5 and close to last year's local bottom. Interestingly, the indicator topped out in December, nearly at the same level it did in Q1 of 2024. This is the chart right here if you've never seen it. So look at the blue line. Every single spike typically indicates the end of the bull run or the bull market. This is the way that things kind of are. You can even see like the price. I mean, if I can get the damn thing to go away here. If you look at the yellow line, it typically coordinates with the spike right here. So dip down, high point, goes all the way up. This was the years where we were told to basically stay inside. So this is an actual anomaly. This is what have you. This is why the market has such crazy deviations around here. But typically people look for this spike, this spike, this spike, and I guess even more so this one as well, as to when the actual bull run would be over. So currently we are right here. We are nowhere near here. We're nowhere near here. We're nowhere near here. This would indicate that even if we shot up to around here, would be roughly around this level. That would indicate around a $200,000 to a $250,000 Bitcoin price over the course of this cycle. If we happen to mimic other cycles like this, this, and this, which I think we should, just based off of the fact that we have never had this much accumulation and the amount of crypto on exchanges is very low. We have countries buying Bitcoin. This isn't just Jack Dorsey and 3,000 other people buying. We're talking about the world and governments right now. If we end up getting to these levels, this would indicate a $400,000 to a $500,000 Bitcoin. However, nobody knows where this is all going to go. If we keep hearing the word tariff, it is going to spook markets. If it spooks markets, prices will go lower. There are still analysts who think that if we continue in this direction, we are probably going to go into a deep recession. That's part of the problem. This is why you keep seeing the Fed being kind of more or less pressured into lowering interest rates. If interest rates don't get lowered, markets aren't going to move back up. We are currently looking at a situation where people think that Bitcoin's going to $200,000 to $250,000 per coin because of this. It's constantly slamming down over and over and over. And if we kind of continue in that direction, we'll get to 200, 250,000. If we get interest rates lowered and inflation and yada, 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 and quantitative easing and all these other things, that's what pushes us up to a $500,000 per coin. But at the moment, yeah, all the analysts, and this is what I think is very difficult for a lot of people. As I've said before, if you don't see immediate movement, if you don't see prices popping, if you don't see anything going like stratospheric over the course of multiple weeks, it is very easy for brand new people within the market to lose faith and not want to be in the market. They end up selling their coins, and we know that every time those coins are sold, they get sold to whales. They're now getting sold to governments, and it's so draining, guys. Every single day having to try and convince people and try and let people know that things are okay, because there's so much negativity constantly being thrown in your direction every single day. I'm not the only crypto news that you're probably absorbing, and you're hearing a lot of other sad negative things from so many. Remember years? This was also, I don't know, whatever. There were multiple other crypto YouTubers for years. If Bitcoin's price was at 55,000, they would make videos. Yeah, guys, it looks like we're going to drop back down to 9,000. Yeah, I would actually hold off buying anything until we hit those numbers again. And then the price keeps going up, and it's why were you lying to people? What was the point? What was the point of you lying and being negative to all these people? The price went up. These people sold their position. They sold their Bitcoin at 55,000 or whatever the number might have been, waiting for Bitcoin to fall back down to 9,000. Because they were that person said it was going to fall back down. I could buy 5 times as much Bitcoin, and now I can't. You lost your entire position. I don't get it. I don't understand. People have problems with so many things. I saw people angry with me on here and on Twitter because I was telling people to drink water. I was telling people to take care of themselves. Somebody wrote, I forgot what words he used for it, but he was like, I'm so tired of you always doing this, telling people just give us the news and stop talking. And I was like, I can't say that word on here, but it begins with an F and it ends with an UQ. It's so crazy. It's I can't tell people to take care of themselves. I can't tell you to have a great day. You're so desperate to be lied to. You want negative news. You want to hear all these crazy, as opposed to the actual real news. You don't care about this market. You don't care about Bitcoin. You don't care about economic freedom. You just want to be rich. You care about nothing. If you don't care about anything else but money in your life, you're going to have a very sad life. I don't know if anyone ever told you that, or if you needed to hear that right now. If money is the main driving factor in your life, you are going to have a very sad life. We are in this brand new market. We have the chance of a literal lifetime. And I don't know what more people want. I really don't know. Sorry for the weird video, but it kind of is what it is. Okay. Well, let's see what I said it before. Let's see what the next 3 months hold. I believe that by the end of June, if things haven't really improved, then, red flag. Yeah. I hope you all have a great day. I hope you all drink water. I hope you're all doing well. I hope you're all taking care of yourselves. I hope you're all taking, time out for yourself. Don't tell me I can't wish good on other people. Are you that miserable? Your life is that sad. You took the time to hear me say something nice, and then you went here and on Twitter to talk down to me. Go do something else. Go skip rocks. Go do jumping jacks in a park somewhere. Miserable, miserable, miserable people. It's so crazy. Well, thank you all once again for watching, liking, and being yourself. And I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.